Hey guys, Smash here. So we're gonna go through some mobility exercises that you can do at home along with the cars. So this is gonna be good for everybody. I'm just kind of shotgunning everybody's little issues. You can go through them all. Now remember, as we're doing pails and rails, it's an initial stretch. You're holding the stretch for about 2 minutes. So I'm not gonna hold it for 2 minutes. I'm just gonna show you the position, but realize you wanna be in a stretch position while you do these mobility exercises, and then you're going to be isometrically contracting into it and actively rotating out of a position. So for most of them. Now, the first one we'll do will just be a nice low squat variation. So what we're going to try to do is come all the way down into the low squat position and kind of press outward into our knees. Okay, and so we're just trying to maintain that posture. Now you may have to grab a hold of something. You may be up here for this. Okay, so ideally we're trying to get deep into the groin area, the knees, and also into the ankles. So a lot of you will have really tight ankles, so you want to try to sit back into this position. Make sure you're holding onto a rack or something if you can't maintain posture. Get as deep as you can, and then you can start playing with some of those tissues. Like the adductors, you can kind of brace out, squeezing inward, and then try to rotate your knees out. So I'm actively pushing my knees in, and then I'm gonna press out with my hips. So I should see a little bit more range of motion there. I can also work into my ankles by pressing hard through the toe, like while I'm holding on to an object, and then just kind of easing a little bit deeper into the squat position. So in that one, you're actively trying to press downward with your toes, which you can't see because it's isometric, but I'm physically pushing down into the floor with my toes, trying to maintain an upright posture, and then I just try to increase my knee forward bend, so I'll get a little bit more increased range of motion that way. You should feel that stretch in there, okay? Nico's got to play with his turkey. So that's number one, deep squat stretch. Number two, this one's important for everybody, the 90-90. Okay, we want to make sure that we get our legs into a 90-90 degree position. Most everybody has done this one already. Make sure you feel that stretch in the back of the hips. Okay, prop yourself up nice and straight. Get as straight as you can. Maintain this position for 2 minutes before you initially begin your pails and rails. That way you get the most benefit out of it. Because your connective tissue is not even going to wake up until it has at least 2 minutes of a stretch. Once that 2-minute stretch is done, push your heel into the back nice and hard, and then rotate up. Okay? You can also try to rotate back around and work both ranges of motion from internal and external rotation. So pressing down, rotating up, and then you can try to open up the hip as much as you can, okay? Now, make sure you switch sides with this one. Again, hold it for another 2 minutes. Can you turn the music down a little bit? Press hard into the ground, rotate up, and then rotate up on the other end, okay? Now, if you're super advanced, you can just rotate through those positions in a little bit of a flow drill. That one might be way too advanced for a lot of people. So just work that end range of motion, try to get the back of the foot off of the ground as necessary. So next one, we're gonna work hip flexion. So we're gonna be in that nice kneeling posture here, rotating the hips forward, good belly brace. Remember, you're trying to squeeze inward with your heel and your knee as you try to increase that stretch. So you give it a like 5-6 second hold, and then push forward just at the hips. You're still trying to keep your chest high, feeling that stretch in through the hip flexor. And then you repeat the process. You squeeze again, and then you push forward. Get it to its very end range of motion, just hold it for a little bit, and then switch sides. Very key point though, you've got to rotate your hips so you feel that initial stretch, because if your hips are back in this anterior pelvic tilt, you're not going to feel as much. You need to rotate through like this. Start that squeeze and then come forward. Okay? So, next we'll hit the adductors. This is a very simple one. You're just going to sit with your legs up like so. Okay, nice and wide. You can go into the full butterfly, but I find this way is a little easier to get into, and it's easier to loosen up the adductors. So you want to brace your legs with your elbows on your knees and squeeze hard inward and then work them on down. Okay? So you squeeze in, 5-6 second hold, and then release down. Okay, I'm actively trying to rotate my knees down to the floor. You should get 5-10 degrees range of motion following the squeeze until you're at your end range. And then just keep working that position for a couple cycles. Now the tighter you are, the more reps and sets you can do with this. So if you're really tight, you can hold out there for a while and it'll just help your positioning that much better. All right, let's get into upper body, the sleeper stretch. This one's key for your joint capsule, so make sure you're lying on your shoulder. You've got a nice ability to rotate. And you're gonna find that range of motion that you can get here, and you start to feel a little pull in the shoulder. You're gonna press back into the hand, isometrically, 5-6 seconds, and then try to rotate. Be careful not to let that shoulder dump out of its socket. Press back up, and then rotate down. Do this at least 3 to 4 times, just to kind of clean up that shoulder socket. And then switch sides, okay? Very easy to do, simple stretch. Just gotta improve that shoulder health. And again, I'm going through these kind of fast, just so you have a quick demonstration video so that you can get into this. So take your time, work these positions. The next one we're gonna work is the chest. So we're gonna kind of lie on our side, hand out to the, hand directly out to the side here. And I'm just gonna press hard in with my hand for 5 or 6 seconds and then rotate off, okay? If I need more of a stretch, I'm just gonna kind of rotate a little bit and get that initial stretch. So if you're really tight, hold that position for 2 minutes and then start rotating and see how far you can get. Same thing applies. We're pressing in with the hand and then trying to pull away. This is actually a really tough move to do, especially if your shoulders are really tight. So now you can lessen the lever arm by bringing your elbow to a 90 degrees, and you can do the same thing. You just press in there and then rotate up. My friend found me. He said, "Dad's on the floor." Hello. Now just do the same thing to the other side. Remember, if you got a little bit more range, prop yourself up a little bit or roll over. Put your elbow down until you feel that stretch in your chest. Press in and then rotate up. Make sure you involve your puppies. That's always a good thing. See, I'm gonna have the whole crew over here. Nico's bringing his toy.
Do you want me to take one?
That's always fun. No, they're fine. We can work through this. Nico's just gonna chase this anyway. Okay, so now we're gonna work into overhead flexion. So this position where we're up in here. So we wanna be down on the ground so that we can drive our hand hard into the ground. So we knife hand into the ground, pressing this way hard, and then we're just gonna elevate. So now if you can get a lot more range, like I can, you're gonna get a yoga block and put it underneath your hand so you can press into that yoga block. And then work that extension pattern, okay? Try not to raise up from your lower back to compensate or your upper back. Make sure you're doing it with your shoulder. And if you're really frisky, do them with both hands, and you can work both sides of them. Just remember, you're pressing hard down into the floor for 5 or 6 seconds, and then you're releasing. You're actively trying to contract up. Give them a little hold, drop them back down, okay? Now for the extension position, so where our arm is back in here, we're just gonna lie the same way, but we're gonna have our hands down this way, and we're pressing down with the thumb part of our hands into the floor, and then we're raising back up, okay? Same thing, it's just in reverse. So we're pressing down, and then rotate back up. Also, if you're getting a lot of range, like I am, put a yoga block down there so you're closer to your end range of motion. That way you're strengthening that position up, because these are only designed to work that last 10 degrees of range of motion. So up here is a little too high for me. I'd have to get a yoga block to make it really effective to get back into my shoulder blade and loosen it up. So there's some mobility exercises that you can all do at home. Stay focused, stay active, stay healthy, wash your hands. I'll see you soon.